you and show you the deepest, then you might not always need the deepest work on your beliefs. But if you understand as much as you possibly can around the whole process, then you have enough tools to reframe and redesign and retell any story at any level from now forward. Does that make sense? Okay. So I have a belief that we're all writing a life story. Not like the exercise that we just did, but we're all writing a script of our life, right? And this script requires characters. Just like we're writing a movie script. We need certain characters, and there's a plot, and, you know, what are they called?
Antagonists, good guys, bad guys?
The other characters, not the lead characters.
Supporting actors.
Supporting characters, yeah, supporting roles, right? So, let's say that I am writing a script of my life, and I am in search for, let's say, power. And I don't believe that I have power, and I also don't believe that I have the resources to get power, right? Like from within. Power, control, any of that sort of stuff. So, I will probably choose to take it from somebody else. Does that make sense so far? At least that might be my decision. I'm going to take it from somebody else. And if I choose you as my supporting character, let's say I choose you and then I abuse you on some level. What does that actually mean that I see in you in order to put you in that supporting role?
What you don't have.
Your power. Whatever I don't have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In my experience, all abusers are seeking something from the victim that they abuse. They're seeing something, right? Whether it's power, with sexual abuse, it's often innocence. That's why little kids get molested a lot. It's because the molester had his or her innocence stolen at some point in time, and they're just trying to get it back. Of course, it makes no sense. It's gross and it's sick, but that's the reasoning at a deep, deep level. Is they're seeking for the innocence that somebody took from them, right? But there's always some kind of reason, even if it's a convoluted, nasty reason. There's always a reason. And so if you've had anything like that happen to you, I want you to just ask the question, similar to what we said earlier, what is it that they saw in me in order to fit me into this role, right? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And what it does, because people and whether anybody in this room is relating to this, or you're just going to meet somebody else who's, because the stats are staggering. I mean, the stats of abuse are staggering. Isn't it like 60, 70% of women have been abused on some level?
It's going up too.
Yeah, and it's a very secretive crime, meaning a lot of people don't report it. So any stats that they have, it's almost always going to be higher, right? So it's a staggering crime, or a staggering percentage. So chances are you're going to, have people that have this story about why me. Anytime that somebody has something like that happen, then they usually just go around the rest of their life, why me, why me, why me? And sometimes they need to answer with a better answer. It doesn't make it okay, but at least it says, you know what, they saw this in me. And that's why they chose me, right? And then I want to tell you another story about a friend of mine named Aurora. She has a book called From Heartbreak to Happiness. If you have gone through any kind of grief, it might be a really good book for you to read. And her story is when she was 32 years old, her 33-year-old husband died in his sleep. And so she woke up literally to his corpse. Right? And they had a 1-year-old son at the time. So she was obviously devastated. She tried to cope with a bunch of different things. And then she said, I think a year or two later, she had a dream. A couple dreams. And in one of the dreams, her husband came back to her and he said, knowing what you now know about me dying early, you'd have to raise our son, would you have still married me? And it got her thinking about all of the good times. And after a while, she's like, yeah, I still would have married you. Right? I still would have done it. And then he said, okay, well, would you have wanted to know when I was going to die? And again, after a while, she thought, absolutely not, because that would have tainted, and poisoned those last few months and last few days. It really got her focused on just the experience leading up to, in this case, a deep tragedy, but also the benefits that she got from the experience. And then her second dream is my favorite. She said that she had a dream one time that her soul was in God's waiting room, right? Like waiting to be put into a body. And God asked for a volunteer. He said, I need a volunteer who's willing to go down to earth and fulfill this mission of helping people go from deep, deep pain and heartbreak and helping them move into happiness. And Aurora's soul said, oh, that's pretty cool. I'll volunteer for that. And so her soul got put into her body. And then God said, I need another volunteer. I need a volunteer that will teach that lady the lessons that she needs to learn in order to fulfill the mission that she just signed up for. And guess who volunteered?
Her husband.
Her husband said, I'll volunteer. I'll go do that. And so the point is, everything that you want to do from this point forward, you must be prepared for it. Basically, all of our preparation comes through pain. Most of it. Most of our learning comes through adversity. We really enjoy the success. But truth be told, we don't learn a whole lot through the success. Do you agree with that? We mostly learn the most powerful lessons through the adversity. So everything that has happened to you up until now is a perfect ingredient in the recipe for you to learn the lessons that you must learn in order to fulfill the vision that's inside of you, in order to fulfill the purpose that you've been given. Does that make sense? And what most people are doing is they're wishing for a better yesterday. They're wishing for a better childhood. They're wishing for a better past. But if you need these lessons going forward, the only thing you can do is embrace your past. You can't have one without the other. You can't have the lessons without the experiences. So if you can be grateful for the lessons, then what if you turn that gratitude and also put it on the experiences as well, good or bad? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because when you're trying to change your past, or you're trying to hide your past, or wish that something was different in your past, you're basically giving up all hope of the lessons for the future. And you're trying to do something that's literally impossible to do. I've never met a person yet that's able to go back and change anything in their past just because they wanted to. Right? So instead of holding on to this victim attachment, just embrace it and tell a different story. Make sense? Cool. So what we're going to do now is a process. And what I would want you to do is you can scan one of two things. Either pick the limiting belief or the limiting story that you just know is the one that you've got to get rid of in your life. How many of you know what that story is already? It's usually something like, I'm not good enough, success is hard, something like that that keeps showing up. Okay? If you don't know what that is, then you can scan the list of beliefs that we just brainstormed an hour ago, whatever that was. And just see which one is probably keeping you back the most. So what I'm inviting you to do is pick the story. If you're going to get rid of a story right now, pick the one that's going to serve you the most. Pick the one that's going to give you the most, leap forward.